Debt ratio, we'll be looking at a longer period of time. So we want to measure a business's overall ability to pay the total liabilities. All the liabilities that you currently see on financial statements, we want to add them up divided by total assets value. So total liability basically will be including current and all the long-term ones. Total asset would also include the current asset and all the long-term assets. And so this ratio here, its name is debt ratio. You see debt on the numerator side. So just by looking at this ratio here, the lower the better. Okay, so it's like the opposite of current ratio. Current ratio because we have current asset as a numerator. So the larger that number is, that represents the more current asset the business have, or the lower current liability that the business has. The debt ratio here will flip the sequence here. We want to calculate the total liabilities over total assets. So we want to know the ratio between liability and assets in total in a longer time period, not just the current ones. The rule of thumb here is about 60%. And that will represent for every dollar of asset represented on financial statements. At the same time, if you look at the right side of liability, for every dollar of asset, you have $0.6 of liability in total. Okay, so the rule of thumb here is that if the ratio is below 60%, it's considered pretty safe and less risky. If it is above 60% and it reaches even to 0.8 or 0.9, then that definitely is a very risky indicator. Because that would represent for every dollar of asset you see on the right side of the financial statements, you have $0.8 of liability, which basically means you only have $0.2 of net worth of equity. So you definitely want net worth of the business to be as large as possible. So debt ratio here, 1 versus 0.6. This is considered pretty safe. Anything below this dollar amount is great. If it reaches above, if it's above 60%, reaches 80% or even more, it's a very risky indicator, which means they currently have a heavy debt already in the business. Okay, so for creditors, this will be a negative sign if they want to borrow money to the company and the debt ratio is very high. This is a negative sign. They may not have enough asset to pay off the money. All right, so current asset over current liability, the higher the ratio is, the better the company is able to pay back its current liability with its current asset on hand. Current ratio, the higher, the better. So if it exceeds 1.5, that's great. Even above, that will represent the company has enough current assets. Debt ratio, we're focusing on the debt amount in the numerator. So the lower the ratio is, the better the company is doing in terms of having a stable amount of asset to pay off its liability. So the higher the ratio, that only represents the more debt the company has compared to its total asset. All right, let's do an exercise.